Welcome to Back to Basics number 3. Excited to do this because we kind of just go back to the simplest parts of designing courses. And so the Back to Basics series is applicable for every kind of course that you design, not just online courses. And so make sure that as you're looking at these materials that you're thinking, how is this applicable to courses that I teach face-to-face, courses that I might teach blended or online? So today it's about looking through your course materials and evaluating them. And I'm going to give you some criteria to think about as you're looking at them. I'm going to preface this by saying you don't have to do this by yourself. And if you don't have time to do this, you can always ask an instructional designer to do it for you. You can just contact Citi, ctei@rush.edu, and ask for a review of your course materials. It's as simple as that. And what that happens is that email ends up coming to me, and I ask a designer, whoever volunteers, and that's how it's done. Or you ask whoever you want to ask. Some people have a preferred designer that they go to. Thank you, Laura, for putting that in there. And that designer can look at them for you. But if you want to know what to do for yourself, like if you're somebody who likes to work really, really late at night, or you're an insomniac and you do stuff in the middle of the night, hey, this is going to be handy for you. What I'm going to suggest to you in this particular workshop is to do things a little bit old school. And you might notice I have a theme as I go through these Back to Basics workshops, and that's using notebooks or legal pads or whatever you have available. Right now I have a notebook. So I have, a small notebook, but I'd probably use a legal pad if I had one like right next to me on this desk, but I don't. So if I were you, or I had a class that I wanted to evaluate my learning materials, I would have a piece of paper handy. Okay. And I made some codes here for you. CHACAWVIV and INV. I just made those up. Okay. And they all stand for something that's at the bottom of this number 1. And go through each module. So you have like number 1, and then just write down what type of learning materials you have your students using in that particular module of your class. So the CH would be a chapter. So they have to read a chapter. A is article, CA is case. Web would be, do you have them evaluating a website or going to a website? V would be video. And that is just an overarching video, TED Talk, YouTube video, something that you found online. An interactive video would be something that you either found online or you created yourself, either using YouTube Studio or another tool, not YouTube Studio, I'm sorry, Canvas Studio or another tool. Or instructor video is something that you created yourself. You're going to notice pretty quickly as you go down through the course modules what you got going on in your class. So you might notice, wow, I assign a lot of articles. My class is almost all articles. Should I really be doing that? I don't know. Should I really be doing that? Probably not. Or, wow, they're only reading textbook chapters. I don't know about that. So when you have that all written out, it's so easy to see where you kind of need to make some adjustments. So that's the second part, is looking at your list of modules and evaluating that list for several different things. So number 1, do you have a decent amount of variation? And that is very subjective, because what variation looks like to me might be different than what you think or what Laura thinks. It's just subjective. So I can't tell you that there's a specific formula you need to fit. because there's no specific formula, but you want to have different stuff so it's just not monotonous and boring for your students every single week to have the constantly the same materials all the time. Okay. Also, not everybody likes reading. I can't possibly understand that. I love to read myself. Okay. I like books. I don't like reading things online, but not everybody is like that. There are people who prefer video, and that I think that population is growing in size versus getting smaller in size. So think about that. And maybe on your notebook, you can make a notation or a star or a frowny face in weeks that maybe you need to have a little bit more variation in those weeks. You can also look at weeks, maybe you have too much. Maybe you have them doing too much stuff, like in terms of reading, especially if you're not having them use that material either for an exam or for an assignment. Just think about if it's too much stuff or it's too little. And if you really don't know, that's probably something that an instructional designer can help you with. And you can talk to them about literally just that. If you're like, hey, would you be able to help me like to determine whether I'm assigning the right amount of learning materials each week, or am I doing too much or too little? And they can help you with something as simple as that. Any questions so far or comments? All right. I'm going to check the chat. Thank you, Laura. There's a workload estimator that Laura put in the chat. Number 3 is, how out of date is your stuff? So it's really comfortable once you design a class, online or otherwise, to just kind of stick with it, right? Because if it works, why fix it? But there's something to be said about thinking about updating your learning materials every couple of years, because new stuff comes out, there's new ideas, there's new research. And if you look through your materials and you find that the articles that you're assigning are from 2015, 2016, that's a little old. Unless it's like stuff that is foundational, like this is what everybody reads on this particular topic, like you have to know this stuff. But if it's not, then you need to think about finding more up-to-date materials for that particular class. And it might take time. That might take time, and you're like, I don't have time for this. Guess what I'm going to tell you to do? What am I going to tell you to do, Jennifer? If you don't have time to update your stuff,
there's always an instructional designer waiting to help.
Yay, Clayton. Now we're not subject matter experts, but you can just say, hey, this is the topic. See if you can find something more up to date. And yeah, we can do that. Doesn't mean we know what you're talking about or anything like that, but we can help
you. Go to your resource librarian. We use them.
Or go to your resource library. Right. You can for sure use the library. Absolutely. What am I talking about, city, when you have a library? I don't know. But you do want to make sure that your learning materials are as up to date as possible. Textbooks, that's up to you if you're still using textbooks and not just articles or anything like that. Videos, oh my gosh. If you go to YouTube and you use the filter at the very top, there's a button that says filter. You can filter it and look for videos produced in the last year. So you can get the newest stuff and see what's been produced in the last year on your particular topic. That way you don't have to weed through everything that's been posted up there since, the early or the mid 2000s. So that can help you try to find some new material. But yeah, replacing your videos with some newer videos is pretty important. Number 4. Now this is pushing it. I know this is pushing it when I'm asking you to make your own materials, because it can get time consuming to do that. But there's something to be said when you just can't find the right stuff online. Like if you want, you're like, oh, this article kind of says I like this part, but I don't really like the rest of it. And I like this part of this one, but not the rest of it. So one answer to that is using Perusall, which we talked about in a previous workshop. Perusall is a social annotation tool, reading tool. You can break up, you can tell it what you want the students to read, what parts of which articles you want the students to read, so they don't have to read the whole thing. So you can do that. Or you can kind of write your own stuff if you want to, or you can make your own videos. Those of you who have taken my online teaching and course design class know I talk about that, and I teach you how to do that. It's definitely not rocket science. You can do it with your phone. You don't have to be fancy. You can make mistakes. Your students are still going to love it. So if you can't find exactly what you want and you need to recreate the wheel, that's pretty awesome to do that. And you can reuse that stuff over and over again, as long as you avoid talking about the weather. Like, don't talk about the weather in the video, or holidays, or, stuff that indicates year, time, things like that. So that, or mentioning student names, like you don't want to do that. Like you keep them as general as possible. And then you can reuse those types of materials for a couple of years until stuff gets updated and you can redo them. But that's part of making your own. In this section, I put for asynchronous online classes, making them PowerPoints isn't really going to help them. Making them videos is going to help them. PowerPoints, I mean, if you have them, fine, but I don't know. I think that there's better time spent making videos than making PowerPoint presentations, because students can take notes on what you say. They can even take your video and put it through AI and have AI write notes for them based on your video, which is super cool. Then they don't have to take notes and AI can do it for them. It's pretty awesome. Do you have any comments about this stuff, Laura? Anything you want to add that I've missed so far?
I don't think so. I think this is a great place to start, and it can feel very overwhelming, of course, but I think approaching it incrementally, and like you say, with a list or a table or some sort of place where you can organize that content makes it a lot more easier to manage.
So yeah, if you're more techie, you could do this in a spreadsheet. Laura loves spreadsheets.
Well, I don't know about love.
Okay.
I tolerate them.
Laura's pretty good at spreadsheets though. So like if you would love to do it as a spreadsheet, right? If you have a course and you want to put this stuff in a spreadsheet, like what you want to update, in your course, and give yourself time to do it, right? It doesn't have to be done yesterday, but say, all right, these are the things that I really want to update in this class. And maybe you say, oh, in the summer of 2025, this is what I'm going to focus on. I'm going to work on updating this class, and these are the things I'm going to update. And this is what I want help with. This is what I'm going to do myself. That can help it seem a little bit less overwhelming to you. It's kind of like a plan that helps you take all of these concepts that can be overwhelming in the big picture, break them down into smaller bits and pieces, and delegate and say, okay, I'm going to ask the instructional designer to help me with this or do this, and I'm going to do that. And then by August, whatever, the end of August, I'll have an updated course. And then maybe you wait until the summer of 2026 to do the next class, right? So having a really nice plan worked out as to what you're wanting to update and when will help you feel better about that process of updating your learning materials. Go ahead, Laura.
Yeah, I'm one thing as I was pondering your question, I did think about if you find the task to be incredibly overwhelming and don't know where to start, I like to ask faculty to think, going back to their learning objectives, going back to material in the course with which you think that the students may frequently struggle with or have questions about, and maybe starting there. I mean, could there be additional clarity, or could different types of multimedia added to that particular batch of content? Could it be chunked or broken down into smaller segments or smaller videos using something like Canvas Studio to make the content more sort of digestible in smaller chunks? That's a good place to start. And then you could strategize and say, okay, well, then I'm going to hit just this semester, I'm going to focus on this one module or this week where I have a lot of, long recordings, or it's not as robust as I'd like the learning content to be, and maybe create a couple videos and see and get student feedback, see how they liked it. Did that help them achieve the objectives better? Did they do better on the tests for that content? And then you can make more informed decisions moving forward about where you want to concentrate your efforts.
That's great advice. Laura is really awesome at her job.
Oh, Angela, thank you.
If you can't already tell.
You're sweet to say that.
That's why she does what she does. All right. And the last one, it's ironic, it's just what Laura said, is asking. So the first thing I said is student created materials. So something that we often forget is that we can ask students as part of the curriculum to create content. And I have told faculty members in the past to have students teach each other. And having students teach each other can look different depending on the type of course that you teach. And especially if it's an asynchronous online class, the students can make videos that teach each other. And you can always ask permission, especially if it's a really, really well done, whether it's an article or a video or whatever the student does, okay, that they create to teach the fellow students. You can ask their permission to reuse it for future courses. I don't believe that violates FERPA. We have to make sure of that, Laura. I have to make sure that. I don't think so, because you're asking the student permission to reuse something that they created for a course. But you can think about that, because it's like writing cases. That's one thing that can be part of an assignment, is encouraging students to write different case studies for different assignments, and being able to reuse them. And then the student wouldn't be, on camera or anything like that. But it's like at your fingertips as having more materials for your courses, but also having the students do that as assignments as well. So it's something to consider. And then asking their opinions about the materials in your class. So if you don't already do a sort of midpoint review of your course, you ask your students like an anonymous survey and using Canvas in the middle of your course, you really think about doing that and asking them specifically about the course materials and how do they find them? Do they want less readings, more videos, or just leave it open-ended and see what kind of feedback you get from your students. And if you do decide to change things and you offer maybe more bits like Laura had suggested for difficult topics, ask your students, how did you like that? You can do it in an announcement and they can respond to the announcement. How did that help you or not? And getting that feedback, I think is extremely valuable. And lastly, review your courses on a regular basis. I strongly encourage you to do that every 2 years, is having a review of your courses and looking through your materials and giving it like a full review. We can always do that for you. You can do that yourself, but we're definitely here to help you if you need it.
Hi,
Any
this is Marcia.
questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Hi, Marcia.
Hi. I wonder if you do use materials from a student and you got their permission, do you need to state their name at all or just say this is from a previous student, or how do you officially do that?
I think that you can leave it up to the student whether the student wants their name mentioned or not.
Okay.
Laura, she's nodding her head yes.
Yeah, I usually, if I'm asking to share, so for example, use a student's work as an exemplar, then I will of course congratulate the student on work well done, and then ask them if they want their name removed or de-identified, or if they want to keep it. In my experience, most students have elected to keep their name attached, even though it may be it's not a privacy concern to them if they give consent because they're proud of what they produced. But if not, then you can remove their names, and then I also put a disclaimer that this was shared with permission of the student, and that obviously, no part of this can be copied unless the student gives consent to do so, etc. Right? That are just used as an example.
Oh, that's helpful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Welcome. Any other questions?
Yeah, I had a question. I don't see the hand gesture thing at the bottom, but anyway. Is there a way, if you do ask for feedback midway from students, that they can provide that anonymously?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's in Canvas?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead, Laura.
Oh, you would create a survey. Surveys are by nature anonymous. You can make it graded or ungraded.
Oh, okay.
Now there are ways of finding out, like if you but the results within Canvas are not going to be associated with individual students. So
Okay.
it isn't, anonymous. And you can also create an anonymous discussion forum.
Oh, okay.
So that's another option if you're seeking feedback but want to maintain anonymity.
Okay. All right, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome. So thank you everybody for coming to Back to Basics number 3. Look for Back to Basics number 4 next month.
Thank you.
Thanks very much,
everyone.
Angela, Laura.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.